You save up your money for months. You request permission from your boss to take exactly 14 days off from your life. You pack a plastic suitcase, drive to an airport, and stand in a long line. You take off your shoes, let a stranger scan your body, and hand over a small booklet to prove you have the right to leave your own country. Then, you strap yourself into a cramped metal seat for 8 hours, breathing recycled air just to sit on a crowded beach for a week before returning to your cubicle. We call this travel. We consider it a luxury. We spend trillions of dollars a year on the tourism industry, convinced that we are exploring the world. But what if I told you that modern travel is actually an illusion? What if the system has taken one of your most ancient, fundamental biological instincts, locked it inside a cage of borders and passports, and then sold it back to you at a massive premium? To understand how you became a prisoner on your own planet, we have to ask a massive historical question. How did ancient humans travel the world? If you look at human history, it seems biologically impossible. We don't have thick fur to survive the freezing cold. We don't have wings to cross oceans. We don't have the speed of a horse or the strength of a bear. Yet, tens of thousands of years before the invention of the wheel, the compass, or the combustion engine, early humans conquered every single corner of the globe. They walked out of the warm savannas of Africa. They crossed the scorching, endless deserts of the Middle East. They survived the freezing, brutal ice ages of Europe and Siberia. Around 20,000 years ago, during the last glacial maximum, the ocean levels dropped, exposing a massive strip of land between Russia and Alaska called the Bering Land Bridge. Ancient humans literally walked across the ocean floor, surviving blizzards and hunting mammoths to populate the Americas. And it wasn't just walking. Thousands of years before European galleons, ancient Polynesian explorers conquered the Pacific Ocean. They navigated thousands of miles of open, deadly water in simple wooden canoes, using nothing but the stars, the temperature of the water, and the flight patterns of birds to find tiny islands in the middle of nowhere. They didn't have GPS. They didn't have Gore-Tex jackets. They didn't have passports. They just kept moving. But why? Why didn't they just stay where it was safe and warm? Why risk starvation, freezing, and drowning to see what was over the next mountain? The answer is inside your DNA. Scientists have discovered a specific genetic variation known as the DRD4-7R gene. It is often referred to by geneticists as the wanderlust gene. It is tied to dopamine receptors in the brain, and it controls novelty-seeking, risk-taking, and the deep urge to explore new places. Roughly 20% of the human population carries this specific genetic mutation. We are biologically hardwired to move. For 99% of human history, humanity was nomadic. We followed the changing seasons, the migrating animals, and our own relentless curiosity. Your brain is perfectly evolved to handle the excitement, the danger, and the freedom of endless exploration. You are the descendant of the greatest travelers the planet has ever seen. So, what happened? Why did the ultimate explorers stop walking, settle down, and agree to spend their lives sitting inside concrete boxes? The trap was set about 10,000 years ago with the agricultural revolution. When humans learned how to plant crops, they had to stay in one place to protect their harvest. For the first time in history, land became property. And where there is property, there is a need for control. Kings, emperors, and warlords realized that their power depended on the people who worked their land. If the peasants walked away, the kingdom would starve. So they drew invisible lines on the dirt and called them borders. But drawing a line isn't enough. You have to enforce it. The true death of human freedom didn't happen in ancient times. It happened surprisingly recently. For most of civilized history, even with borders, you could still travel relatively freely. Before World War I, you could board a train in Paris and travel all the way to Russia without anyone asking for your papers. The concept of a modern passport didn't exist for the average person. But when the First World War broke out in 1914, governments panicked. They needed to know exactly who was in their country, and more importantly, they needed to make sure their own citizens couldn't run away from the military draft. So, Governments introduced the mandatory modern passport and border control checkpoints. They told the public it was a temporary security measure that would be removed after the war. It was a lie. The war ended, but the passports stayed. Governments realized that controlling movement was the ultimate form of power. By requiring a passport, the state essentially claimed ownership over your physical body. You are no longer a free human roaming the earth. You are the property of a nation, and you must ask for permission to leave. But here is the brilliance of the modern capitalist system. The corporate world realized that even though the physical borders were closed, the ancient human brain still possessed the DRD4-7R gene. The biological urge to explore was still burning inside the minds of billions of factory and office workers. If you keep wild animals locked in a cage forever, they go crazy. But if you let them out into a slightly larger play yard for 1 hour a day, they become docile. The system couldn't let you be a nomad. They needed you at your desk on Monday morning to keep the economy running. So they invented a pressure release valve. They invented the modern tourism industry. They took your profound, ancient biological need for discovery and exploration, and they sanitized it, packaged it, and put a massive price tag on it. Today, tourism is a nearly $10 trillion global industry. It is one of the most brilliant psychological hacks in human history. Think about the modern vacation. You are sold the idea of freedom, but what you actually get is a highly orchestrated, perfectly controlled illusion. You book a flight on a massive corporate airline. You stay in an all-inclusive resort owned by a multinational conglomerate. You are shuttled on a guided tour bus to take the exact same photograph of the Eiffel Tower or the Colosseum that millions of other people took that exact same day. You are not exploring. You are consuming geography. The industry has convinced us that travel means escaping your life, rather than experiencing the world. They sell you beaches and cocktails to numb the exhaustion that the 50-week work year caused. The modern vacation isn't an adventure, it is a recovery period. You are paying thousands of dollars just to repair your mental health enough so you can return to the office and endure another year of the exact same routine. And the system makes you feel incredibly grateful for it. We view traveling to another country as a massive privilege, a status symbol to be posted on social media. We forget that walking across the earth was the default state of human existence for hundreds of thousands of years. It was completely free. They took your birthright, put it behind a paywall of visas, plane tickets, and hotel fees, and convinced you it was a luxury. Look at how the system polices this concept. If a wealthy person buys a ticket, flies to a foreign country, and stays in a luxury hotel, we call them an expat or an international traveler. We admire them. But if a poor person crosses an invisible line on a map looking for a better life and a safer environment, doing exactly what ancient humans did to survive for millennia, we call them an illegal alien. We throw them in detention centers. The system doesn't hate movement. The system hates movement that it cannot monetize or control. This is the travel trap. We have been domesticated. Our ancestors navigated the vast, terrifying oceans using the stars. We get anxious if the Wi-Fi drops on our 2-hour commercial flight. We have traded the breathtaking, dangerous freedom of the ancient world for the predictable, expensive comfort of the modern one. So, how do you escape the trap? You can't just throw away your passport and walk into the wilderness. The borders are real and the system is absolute. But you can change your mindset. You can stop treating travel as a product to be consumed. You don't need to spend $10,000 on a sanitized resort in a foreign country to satisfy your ancient brain. Exploration is not about the distance you travel, it is about the way you interact with the unknown. You can explore the hidden nature around your own city. You can get off the guided tourist path. You can seek out discomfort, challenge, and genuine connection with different cultures, rather than paying for a pre-packaged corporate experience. The urge to travel is not a hobby. It is the echo of the ancient hunter-gatherers who walked out of the savannah and conquered the globe. It is the purest expression of human freedom. Don't let them reduce your genetic legacy to a 2-week hotel reservation. Reclaim your curiosity, because the world still belongs to you. You just have to remember how to walk in it.